Good day, everyone, and thank you for joining today's live event. If you are using NAV 2017 or an older version of NAV, then this live event is for you. Previous versions of NAV are reaching the end of their support from Microsoft. In this session, we're going to be going through what this means, as well as the other reasons why now is the right time to upgrade to Dynamics 365 Business Central. We're going to be going through everything you need to know about the upgrade process as well. And there'll be time at the end for questions. So please, throughout the whole session, use the question and answer section for asking any questions that you can think of, and we'll come to those and we'll provide some more detail. So now I'll hand over to our expert, Snehanshu Mandal. Thank you, Snehanshu.
Thanks, Scott. And hello to all. I hope everyone is keeping well in this pandemic situations and all are ready for the holiday season. Okay, so as Scott mentions, we are taking up another upgrade process, and this time we are changing the context a little bit. And we are typically discussing with the context that NAV 2017 and the prior versions, those are already reached their end of support from the Microsoft. But NAV 2017, so last but one, after this, NAV 2018 will remain under the support of Microsoft. So NAV 2017 is reaching its end of support in exactly the date is 11 January 2022. So those who are in NAV 2017 or the prior versions, it is the right time for them to move to the latest version of Dynamics 365 Business Central. Because after the support ends, Microsoft will not release, other than the security updates, will not release any updates, which is for the new features. So no new features will be included in the NAV 2017. They will not also release anything which required to update the product for any statutory reasons. Let's say it's 1 year after the Brexit happened and certain new statutory thing is coming into effect in UK or anywhere else. Any change required to manage those statutory changes, those updates, those changes in the software will not be released for NAV 2017 or the prior versions. They only will be released till NAV 2018. So our today's session on the upgrade is completely from the context that NAV 2017 is going out of the mainstream support of Microsoft. Now, quite obviously, we are in a crossroad where you need to decide on what to do, whether to remain where you are and take the risk of not being supported or to upgrade to the Business Central. And why quite often I say this is the right time to upgrade to the Business Central if you are in NAV 2017 or the prior version, even NAV 2018 as well. Because at this moment, there are a couple of promotions going on from the Microsoft. So you will save a lot on the licenses, or possibly if you remain on-premise, then you will not incur any cost in the licenses. So I will discuss these points in more details in the subsequent slides. Plus, the more quickly you will upgrade. So we are in NAV, we are right now, the Business Central is right now is 19.1 actually. So the gap between 2017 and 19.1 is just like 17, you have 18, then Business Central 14, and then Business Central 19. So a lot of gaps are there. The more bigger gaps you will have between your version of Navisions and the Business Central current versions, the more costlier it will be for you. And one of the major, a major reward, or you can say major argument for the upgrade possibly will be that once you upgrade to Business Central now, you will remain upgraded. You stay upgraded because Business Central, if you on the cloud, Business Central gets automatically updated from Microsoft. So there is no future upgrade cost for you unless until you have very complex customizations and that need certain reworks because of the Microsoft upgrade, which is very rarely happens. We have experienced in last 3 years. Those things happen very rarely and very minor things happened. Those are the pros and cons and you can say arguments for moving from the NAV 2017 to move to Business Central. Now, if you decide as a customer how you are going to decide, because the moment you say, okay, we want to upgrade, but many questions is in my mind. What will happen to my existing license? Do I need to buy a new license? Can I utilize my existing license? Now, there can be situation where you have done a lot of customizations in your existing Navision. And you are using Navision, say, last 5-6 years, or even maybe 10 years. And so you have a lot of data in the system. So you will be worried about whether what will happen to your license, what will happen to your customizations or development, or till now, what happens to the data you are having in your NAV instance at this moment. So I'm going to discuss the process we follow in the upgrade and how these things are managed while upgrading. And then we'll briefly discuss about the pros and cons and whether you should stay on the on-premise or you should move to the cloud. And finally, obviously, the money is everything. The cost is everything. So how to decide or how we decide how much the upgrade cost will be there for your specific instance of Navision. So let's move on and discuss these points in more details. Yeah, so before going any further, I was talking about there is some promotion is going on at this moment. And before I talk anything else, I need to mention the difference between the NAB license and the Business Central license. Navision license is the perpetual, means you can create n number of users, but you at a one point of time, a certain number of users can log in the system. Whereas in the Business Central, you can create as many numbers as the license, your license has the permissions for. So if you have a 10 user license, you can create the 10 user and assign that 10 user to your users. But quite often people get confused. Okay, what happens? I have assigned a user license to a particular user and he moved out of my company and gone somewhere. How to utilize that license? Quite obviously, you can unassign those license in a named user concept from a user who has moved out of your company and assign it to somebody else. So those are simple process and managed from Office 365 Admin Center. Now, there is a concern. So obviously, it is moving from the perpetual to the named user. So just because of this change in the concept, so Microsoft is, at this moment, Microsoft is giving you the 3 times the license count you have in Navision. So at this moment, if you have 10 users, when you migrate to the Business Central, you will, and if you remain on premise, you will get 30 user count. So that way, it's completely mitigated, whether it's a named user or whether it's a perpetual user. If you are, another option is that, okay, you are moving from the on-premise to cloud or SaaS. We'll discuss about the pros and cons in a little bit later. You also will get the 40% discount for the 3 times the user count you have at this moment. So you have 10 users, you will get a 40% discount till the point you buy 30 users. So those are the promotions going on at this moment. Now, Talking about the rest of the points, what will happen? We'll talk about the license. So license can be migrated. It's not a problem. There are various options are there. You can migrate to on-premise, you can migrate to SaaS, and various promotions are there. So license is not a problem. But what happened to the rest of the things, like the customizations you have done in your Navision instance, or the data, because you are using it for past, say, 5, 6 years, 10 years, maybe some duration, you have considerable amount of data in the system. What will happen to those data? So to give you an overview of this, what exactly happens to all these things, I'll try to explain the upgrade process we follow in some plain terms. So what exactly we do? First, we sit with your business users and try to understand your business a bit. It's not pure mathematics. Upgrades are not really always a pure mathematics. And why we do this? Because the way Navision used to work and the way Business Central works, there are certain differences. So to mitigate, to understand how to align your existing NAV 2017 or prior versions to Business Central, we need to understand how you are using Navision at this moment. So that's why our functional consultants discuss it thoroughly with your business users and try to understand what exactly, how you're using the NAV 2017. That way, it also gives us an opportunity to suggest to you any enhancement or any options to utilize the system much better when you migrate to Business Central. That's one thing. And second thing, we have a tool which, with the help of that, we compare your existing objects with the NAV 2017 base objects. What that exactly means? So we think about, you have a customized instance and I take a non-customized instance, the standard Navision, and I compare them. So we have that tool and I will give you a report. What are the changes you have made in the system? And whether all those changes are required or not, that we will discuss it together. And the conclusion will be, we will be concluding that, okay, we have hundreds of customizations, but probably I could see that 20%, 30% is directly now available in Business Central. But there are 60, 70% customizations is very crucial for me, and I want to carry them forward to the Business Central. So that report will be the base of our upgrade and even the costing of the upgrade. So once we compare, we come out of that report, then it goes to a process where we convert these custom objects into the Business Central extension. I will show you that process. So that's a process still goes on, that I'm converting your customizations to a Business Central extension. At the same time, parallelly, we also do certain sample data migration. So first of all, your data, entire data can be migrated to Business Central perfectly. So there are a data migration tool, which is available from the Microsoft itself. And with the use of those, we have a very expert team, and we have done several numerous upgrade from Navision to Business Central. So we do a sample data migration, and you will say, okay, why sample migration? Because we are not reaching a go live date. Till the go live date, I need to do certain testing, I need to do certain training to your guys. So that's why, to facilitate that your end users are getting trained and practicing the system with your own data, that particular concept requires that we migrate certain sample data. So that's why we do certain sample data migrations. And then we reach to a situation where we deploy it and we start user training. And once all this user training and user acceptance testings and everything is done, and then we go for a data migration and go live with a cutoff date. And then go live can be, it depends whether you want to remain on-premise, so it will be go live on an on-premise instance. If you want to go for the migrating to the cloud, your entire data can be migrated to the cloud. So that's the process. You can see in simpler terms, the upgrade process we follow. To explain it in more detail, as I told you, we come out with a report explaining or listing down all the customizations you have. And how I normally give it to you, I give it to you in a simple Excel file, Excel report. We list down all the customizations, we list down how much customizations are there, how much effort is required, and I can give you a fixed cost for the upgrade at this moment. And then we start to a process called object conversion, where base objects will be the base objects, but the standard objects modified and the new objects created for the customizations, they gets converted to a concept called extension. Once this process is done, then they get imported or deployed in either a Business Central on-premise instance or a Business Central cloud instance for further testing. Now, next step is that sample data migration. Now, when I say sample data migration, it looks simple. You don't need to be bothered about all those back-end complexities that our team handles. But just to give you an idea, and if you remember, I was talking about that the bigger gap you have between your versions and the Business Central latest version, the more costly probably will be the upgrade process. So in the data migration process, we need to go through couple of steps. So first steps is I take the Navision version and then upgrade to Navision 18, and then Navision 18 to Business Central 14, and then Business Central 14 to a Business Central 19 or whatever the latest versions we will have. On top of that, that's the data we have. On top of that, we also need to migrate data which is specific to your customizations. You probably have created 10 different fields in different places for capturing additional informations. And we need to manage those data as well, not only the standard Navision data. So we manage the entire end-to-end data residing in your Navision database to the Business Central new instance. Once my customizations and objects are converted to a Business Central extensions, and we have done the initial data migration, a sample data migration, we reach to a situation where we can conduct the user training. And the user training, we make sure that our customers, end users, are thoroughly involved in the process. It's not that we'll just go and pick something and we say, okay, you are trained. Not really. We keep, you can say, identify or decide certain key users and we train them. And we make sure the rest of the team, rest of the end users are trained by these key users. So your team is involved in the secondary training as well. So they will be thoroughly experienced in a Business Central in this entire process. Obviously, we will be there as a standby and handhold the key users because they will be doing it for the first time. But we will make sure that your end users and your key users are extremely confident in the new system. Now, we've done the customization migrations, we've done the data migrations, and we've done the training. And now is the time for going live. So before we can go live, we decide a cutoff date. Okay, we will go live on, say, 1st of February, 1st of March, we decide on a date, and then we migrate a final round of data. We migrate from your existing instance of Navision 2017 or prior versions, and then we migrate to the latest version of the Business Central. And it depends whether you are remaining on-premise, so it will be migrated to an on-premise instance, or if you are moving to cloud or SaaS, we are going to migrate from it to SaaS as well. So the process still remain that we need to migrate it to and put it in on-premise instance, and then there is a process of from on-premise instance to the cloud Business Central instance. And for your informations, if you are still remaining on-premise, Mercurius IT has the various options of hosting your Navision, hosting your newly converted Business Central instance to the Azure as well. So that's completes the process of taking your Navision database instances, extracting all the customizations and converting them to Business Central extensions, extracting all the data and migrating to Business Central database, and then moving them either in a Business Central on-premise server or moving them to a Microsoft 365 Business Central cloud instance where the infrastructure and everything is taken care of Microsoft and everything is included in the license itself. So that's the upgrade process, simpler way. And now the questions arise whether to remain on-premise or move to the cloud. So these are the few of the you can say benefits. And as I said, if you remain on-premise, you don't need to spend any money on the licenses. And if you go to the cloud or SaaS, you need to procure the new license, but you will get a 40% discount on the license. Now you will say, okay, I'm spending I'm spending 60% on the licenses if I move to the cloud. So probably the remaining on the on-premise is still better, but it may not be the case. If you see, if you remain on-premise, you have additional costs, like you need to host it in a self-hosted server, or you need to host it in any third-party server, or possibly need to host it in the Azure. You need to manage it. You need to administer, do certain administration on the server. You have the cost for that. Plus, you still will be paying the BREF, the Business Ready Enhancement Plan, the BREF amount, which is like 16% of your license cost, which you pay every year, that will still remain. Whereas if you move to the cloud, you are not spending on the infrastructure. Infrastructure cost is included in the cloud versions. It will be administered by Microsoft. So disaster recovery or backups and all those things are taken care of by Microsoft. And Microsoft promises a SLA of 99.7%. In this matter, if you see, because now in the present world, the hardware is getting obsolete very fast because there are so much of development in the hardware. If you remain the cloud, you don't need to be bothered about that aspect of the hardware because it will be managed by Microsoft. So infrastructure will be fully, future-proof, you can say, from that angle. Plus, it will be your Business Central version will be automatically upgraded by the Microsoft the moment you are in the SaaS. So possibly you will end up having a calculation and we help you doing those calculation. The money you are paying for the BREP and the administration and the hosting, possibly that will be more than the money you will be paying for the 60% of the license cost are there for you when you move to the cloud or the SaaS. So we help you calculate all this return on the investment and so that you can take an informed decision. Now, the final questions, okay, all good. It is possible. License will be migrated, data will be migrated, customization will be migrated. But how costly it will be? Let's discuss that out, how expensive the upgrade can be. So here I try to explain the costing mechanism. So there is two aspects. How much customizations you have. So the more customizations you have, the more effort I'll be spending to convert those customizations to the Business Central extensions. So upgrade costing will be dependent on how much customizations you have or which versions you are in. If you are in, say, 2015, 2017, fine, they have the low impact on the costing. You have, if you are a NAV 2013 or earlier, maybe NAV 2009, which is the classic versions of Navisions or the earlier versions, then the impact will be higher. The bigger the gap between your Navision instance and the Business Central instance, that will depict what will be the costly, how much costly it will be. That's a two part of the upgrade cost. And on top of that, which kind of decision you are taking, whether you are deciding on to remain on premise or whether you want to move to the cloud on SaaS. So if you remain on premise, as I said, you still will be paying the BREP and the hostings and all those things. And but the moment you move to the cloud, you need to buy the license, but your infrastructure will be included, and there will not be any BREP to be payable to Microsoft every year. It's just pure license fees you need to pay. No hosting, no administration, and no, you can say, no future upgrade costing, because everything will be managed by the Microsoft. So this depicts how many days and how many months probably we are going to take for to upgrade your NAV instance to a Business Central. Now, quite obviously, this cost also will be dependent on how much your partner charges for you. What is their daily rate daily rate with the agreement with you? So as a micro IT, we have a very competitive rates for this. And if you want to know more about our rates, and you can send us an email, and you can also check our website how all this costings and everything is done, or you can simply send an email and we can explain you our costing mechanism. In this entire process, just to reiterate that if you ever want to know how costly it will be, we do that object analysis and the costing part completely free for you. So we take your objects, we compare, and we simply come out of that initial report, how much customizations you have, how big is the database, and all those initial report. We analyze and come out of with that report completely free for you. Once we decide on what to migrate and what not to migrate, we simply give you a fixed cost proposal for your upgrade, and we stick to that until and unless you are asking me to enhance something completely new in the Business Central. Plus, our daily rate will be extremely competitive. So you can anytime send us a mail, and we can explain you the costings, and we can help you comparing your objects and give you a upgrade cost. So that's how we upgrade and how the upgrade costings and all those things happens. And just a little bit more about the Business Central. So Business Central is very dynamic at this moment, and Microsoft is listening to the customers. We have a portal where you can put say, okay, this possibly a new feature in Business Central. Microsoft will check that. Microsoft will research about it, and if enough users are giving a similar requirements, they will release the same feature, include the same feature in Business Central. That's the process. So literally every month, Microsoft is coming out with new features, new user productivity tools, and that will getting included automatically in your system. So just to give you a couple of the new features included in a Business Central recently, like it is integrated with Microsoft Teams. So now, literally, we all use the Microsoft Teams, and from the Business Central, you can literally choose a particular data or a screen. And if you have some queries, or if you want to share those informations with your colleague over Microsoft Teams, you have a button simply in the Microsoft Business Central screen itself, where you can just say share, and to Microsoft Team, it will ask for which particular user, mention them, and that data, that information is with your colleague. Not only that, in Business Central, in Microsoft Teams as well, if you go and search for the apps, there is an app for Business Central. And once you install that app, even from within the Teams, you can view and manage a lot of informations from Business Central from within Microsoft Teams. You don't really need to open a Business Central. That's one beautiful aspect introduced in a Business Central 2021 Web 2. What else? A lot of enhancement in the integrations between the Outlook, Microsoft Outlook, and the Business Central. So literally creating a contacts to a customer and creating a quotes and converting it to an order, and subsequently possibly creating an invoice. All these activities can be managed, can be done from within Outlook email, without opening Business Central at any point of time. It is getting enhanced into such a manner that now you can also open a, let's say you have a Teams meeting with your customer, and there you have discussed about that, okay, certain deliverables are done, and now you want to raise an invoice. And you want to raise an invoice in Business Central. You don't need to go to Business Central. From that Teams meeting itself, you can simply create an invoice and send it to the customer through mail. So those kind of power is getting, and the collaboration is getting introduced in between Microsoft Outlook and Microsoft 365 Business Central. Plus, if you want to ever extend Business Central, and you have the beautiful reporting tool like Power BI and the Power Apps, which is a low-code development platform from Microsoft, and not necessarily Business Central. Many things can be done from the from that Power platform and the Power Apps. So from the collaborative point of view, of collaborative angle or perspective, Business Central is brilliant. It is integrated with Outlook, it is integrated with Power BI, it is integrated with Microsoft Teams, it is natively integrated with Microsoft Excel. When I say natively integrated with Microsoft Excel, I'm not saying that you can export data to Excel. This is integrated in such a way that you can actually, from Excel, you can push data to a Business Central as well. And this number of new features are continuously getting added to Business Central. What else? Those who are new, Navision is a little bit dependent on the Windows operating system, because its server instance need to be installed in the Windows operating system. Certain app, because it is dependent on the client, it has a client which is which is Windows operating system based client. Though it has a web client as well, but a certain aspect is a little bit dependent on the operating system. Whereas Business Central, it's free. There is no Windows client. You can simply open the Business Central either from a Mac operating system, Windows operating system, or even open it from any tablet from, say, whichever may be the version. It can be Android versions, it can be Windows or the Mac version as well, or from the phone. You can open Business Central from any kind of phone. Obviously, you need to remember that phone screen are much smaller than your tablet and the a laptop or desktop screen. So the screen automatically gets tweaked and automatically gets adjusted to your phone screen. So certain activities are very suitable from the phone, like possibly approving a transaction. It can be a GL transaction, it can be a purchase order, it can be a sales invoice, and so on. Those kind of activities are extremely suitable doing it from your phone. What else? When you move to the cloud, yep, it will be residing. The data will be hosted nearest to your location as a Microsoft platform, Microsoft hosting facility, closer to your locations. Plus, it will follow all the industry standards. It will follow all the local rules. It will be fully GDPR compliant. It will make sure that data remains within the country, and also it is interconnected or integrated with to make tax digital. It is fully integrated with HMRC as well. But what else? One of the major change or the major thing introduced in Business Central is the modern development capability and the concept of extensions. So the technology is changed in such a way that whatever we customize or develop in Business Central remain isolated, completely isolated from the base coding or the base application actually. So that's that very concept, the extension concept, which makes it possible to keep the coding codes of customizations and the base completely isolated. That also make it possible to upgrade Business Center flawlessly without any trouble. That's why Microsoft is able to upgrade your Business Center without anybody's interventions. That's one of the most important change happened in Business Central. So in future, if you are in cloud, you will not spend any money on the upgrade. If you are on premise, possibly you will spend, but that will be very minuscule amount upgrading to the newer version. That's conclude our discussion about the upgrade of NAV to Business Central from the context of that NAV 2017 is reaching its end of support on 11th January 2022. So if you have any queries, questions, you can ask it now here, or you can also send your queries and arrange a call with us and send a mail to the mail IDs mentioned here.
Thank you very much, Snehanshu, for that great explanation and insight. I'll just quickly add as well that anyone can also reach out to us through social media too with any questions as well. And there are a few questions here actually. The first one here, it says, I'm using NAV 2017 at the moment. Is extended support really different from mainstream support?
Yes. So there is a difference between the extended support and the mainstream support. Extended support only deals with the security patches released by Microsoft. So let's say there is a new feature getting introduced in, say, across the system. It's decided that, okay, we are going to introduce certain new feature. Possibly, just to give you an example, I just giving you an example. Let's say we are coming out with a Business Central integrations, with a e-commerce portal natively. So when it will be released for all the versions which are in the primary support. It will not be released for the versions which are not in the primary support. So any new introduction of feature which needs changes in the software will not be introduced in the versions which are not in the primary support. Second, if there is any statutory changes, and for that, if we need to change anything in the product, that will not be released for these versions. But if there is any security flaws in the system, that will be definitely released for all the versions actually.
Okay, thank you. And then the next one says, is Business Central just the next NAV? Also, is it the same difference as between NAV 2017 and NAV 2018?
No, lot of difference is there. Obviously it's a newer versions, and it is the you can say progression from Navision to Business Central and so on. First changes, you could see that Business and Navision is actually always literally always on premise, and you need to host it. Business Central is Microsoft hosted. You take the license and you don't need to be bothered about the hosting and all those things. That's one of the major thing. Changes, I could say yes, it includes more or less all the features of Navisions. It's a superset of Navisions. So it's continuously getting enhanced with the end user productivity tools. And that's the change, which you will not have in Navision. Plus the way we develop and the way we use. Navision 2017 or prior versions, Navision 2018, you still, whenever you customize, though Navision 2018 introduced the concept of extension, but it is not that you can say great. Still, the development part is not great. The extension concept is introduced in 2018. Extension concept is not there in 2017. So the technology of extension is only available in a Business Central. So that's another change. Even if you see NAV 2018 for hosting, you need to be, and for accessing, it's very similar, but there will be a lot of changes, a lot of differences in terms of the feature available between NAV 2017, 18 and the Business Central.
Great, thank you very much. And the next question here says, how long does a complete upgrade to Dynamics 365 Business Central take?
Okay, that's really depends. I'll just go back to one of my slide. That's really depends on this. So your cost and the time period to upgrade depends on these factors. So if you don't really have much of customizations, it can be quickly done. Data is not a big problem. So database size, yes, it takes time when we do the final upgradation, and that's why we do always do it on a weekend so that you have a minimal downtime or literally no downtime. But factors still as costing as well as the duration of the upgrade still remains on this factor. How much customizations you have That's the primary factor to decide on the upgrade durations. It can be, we have seen, like just to give you an example, we have seen the upgrading instance within a week, and we took like 3 months to upgrade. That is also a possibility if it is a huge customizations with a lot of things included in the customizations.
Great, thank you. And then there's another question here. It says, I believe Business Central is getting developed and enhanced constantly. Is this the case?
Yeah. So the core, if you see the, if you track the latest enhancement done or happened in the Business Central, you will see a particular trend. First of all, Business Central, let me give you a background. Business Central major versions comes twice in a year, in the month of April and in the month of October. There, Business Central introduced the major changes in the system. Otherwise, rest of the month, they also introduce the smaller features. But if you see this feature, see, it's a certain business thing. Say your sales and receivables, your purchase and payables, your financials, the concept of these things does not change. So software cannot just make it that, okay, from now on, the finance is completely different. That now on, the very concept of sales and receivable is different. The concepts are not getting changed. So what Business Central is trying to improve with those new features, they're trying to enhance or trying to improve the user experiences. How best they can, how best or improve the user productivity as well. Just to give you an example, recent enhancements. Customer payment. I need to say, customer gave me released a payment. I want to register that payment entry in the system. So I need to go to the payment journal. I need to create everything manually, and then I need to select an invoice for which the payment I have received for applications, and all those activities you need to do. Whereas in Business Central, you have a concept of payment registration. So you just go to the payment registration. You need to mention which bank account to be used. It will present you all the invoices in one single place. You just to mention how much amount you have received against all those invoices. You post it. You don't need to create the payment entries. All those entries and everything will happen automatically. So that's a kind of user productivity, improving the user productivity. Or think about, probably that will be out of context and I will take to explain the feature. Think about combining shipments. A customer ships, keep on shipping the product to, say a company keep on shipping the various product to their customer, and they have an invoicing cycle. Okay, start of the month, I'm going to take all the shipments and then combine them in the various invoices. Navision is completely manual. And recently they introduced the shipment, combined shipments, where it can combine all the shipments, creates the invoices automatically. And if you want to, they can also post those invoices automatically. So those are the, if you see the trend, the majority of the recent enhancement, obviously there will be certain changes, major changes will happen between April and October, but user experience improvement and the user productivity improvement, that's two focus is there in all those new features.
That's great. Thank you very much, Snehanshu. And no new questions are coming through now, so I think we can end the session here.
Perfect. So thank you all, and thanks for all your queries. And in the screen, you can see certain email IDs. You can always reach us through those email IDs, and we'll be happy to consult, happy to explain you the process, happy to help you, any queries you have. And we will catch up soon. Again, with the various upgrade process or the various services we provide. Thank you.